Welcome to Royal Secret. It is the Emerald Pearl, an exquisite masterpiece of royal elegance that Queen Mary of Denmark adores, wears with pride, and honors as a sacred emblem of Danish history. Yet, despite her status as queen consort, there's one stunning truth: she is not allowed to take it out of the country. Queen Mary in a white gown, tiara glittering on her head. She's worn it at glittering New Year's banquets. She's dazzled diplomats, heads of state, and royal watchers around the globe with its glinting emeralds. But this historic treasure, like a prisoner in a gilded cage, must always stay on Danish soil. Why? What makes this tiara so untouchable, so bound to Denmark that even royalty cannot move it? Tonight, we take you deep into the royal archives, beyond the polished images of Queen Mary and King Frederik, and into the fascinating history, drama, and strict rules surrounding Denmark's most mysterious and beloved emerald tiara. Get ready, because this is more than just jewelry. It's power, it's legacy, and it's the crown jewel that Queen Mary loves, but can never truly own. The legend of the Emerald Pearl. To understand why this tiara holds such sacred status, we have to journey back, centuries back, into the gilded chapters of Danish royal history. The Emerald Tiara is not a standalone piece. It is part of the fabled Danish Emerald Pearl, a complete royal set consisting of a tiara, earrings, a necklace, a brooch, and a hair ornament, all made of glittering emeralds set in diamonds and gold. The Pearl originally belonged to Queen Caroline Amalie, consort of King Christian VIII of Denmark in the 19th century. But the emeralds themselves, they go back even further. Some say to Napoleon's court, crafted in the French Empire style and possibly worn in the grand salons of Europe's most powerful elite. These emeralds aren't just stones. They are witnesses to centuries of European power plays, royal unions, and constitutional transformations. Black and white portraits of Queen Caroline Amalie, early 19th century fashion. In Queen Caroline Amalie's time, this pearl was the ultimate symbol of royal femininity and grace. But unlike most royal jewelry that passed down through bloodlines or was gifted at weddings, Caroline Amalie made an unusual decision. She didn't give it to her daughter. She didn't sell it. She donated it, not to a person, but to the Danish crown itself. And that one decision changed everything. Property of the crown, not the queen. From the moment Queen Caroline Amalie made her historic donation, the Emerald Pearl became, legally and symbolically, the property of the Danish state, not the personal possession of any monarch or consort. That means every queen of Denmark who wears this tiara is only borrowing it. She can wear it, flaunt it, and celebrate it, but she cannot take it home. She cannot travel with it, and she certainly cannot pass it on to anyone outside the royal family. Inside Amalienborg Palace, jewelry vaults, Danish guards, then Queen Mary, with all her grace, style, and popularity, must abide by this strict rule. No matter how much she loves the tiara, it is not hers. And the rule is ironclad. The Emerald Pearl cannot leave Denmark under any circumstances. It cannot be taken abroad for state visits. It cannot accompany the Queen on royal tours. Not even for a gala at Buckingham Palace or a banquet at the White House. Why such extreme measures? Because this isn't about fashion. It's about heritage, sovereignty, and the preservation of Danish identity. Queen Mary's first moment with the tiara. Queen Mary of Denmark, born Mary Elizabeth Donaldson in Tasmania, Australia, was once a regular citizen, a marketing executive, living a quiet life down under. But when she met Crown Prince Frederik at a Sydney pub during the 2000 Olympics, everything changed. She fell in love not just with a man, but with a monarchy, a nation, and a legacy unlike any other. Early footage of Mary and Frederik, royal wedding, cheers of crowds. When Mary married Frederik in 2004, she was introduced to centuries of royal protocol, including the rules of royal jewels. But nothing quite prepared her for the awe-inspiring moment she first saw, and later wore, the Emerald Pearl. It is said that Queen Mary was deeply moved by the symbolism and responsibility of wearing the emerald tiara, not just as an accessory, but as a sacred duty. A reminder that while she may be queen consort, her role is to serve something greater than herself. In 2012, during a glittering New Year's banquet, one of the most prestigious events in Denmark's royal calendar, Queen Mary wore the full Emerald Pearl for the first time. The media buzzed, fashion critics swooned, but behind the glamour was a solemn truth. She was wearing Danish history. The design, a masterpiece of empire style. The tiara itself is a masterpiece of empire-era craftsmanship. Built in the early 1800s, it features Brazilian emeralds, some of the rarest and most valuable in the world, surrounded by diamonds set in gold and silver. Its design reflects the neoclassical style of the Napoleonic age, symmetrical, bold, and regal. The tiara is complemented by matching earrings, a drop necklace of large emerald clusters, and a brooch that has adorned the shoulders of Danish queens for over 2 centuries. Close-up visuals of the parure, animated breakdown of gemstones and design. Each piece is individually breathtaking, but together, they form one of the most iconic and historically rich jewel sets in Europe. And unlike many royal jewels that have been remodeled or sold off over time, the emerald parure has remained intact, untouched, and fiercely protected, a national treasure. Why it can never leave, the legal and symbolic lockdown. Why such obsession with keeping it in Denmark? The answer is twofold. Legal ownership and national symbolism. Legally, the emerald parure is part of the Danish royal regalia, held in trust by the state and managed under strict protocols. It is not considered personal property. This means that even if the monarchy were ever dissolved, the parure would remain with the Danish nation, likely in a museum. Symbolically, it represents the continuity of Danish monarchy through centuries of political upheaval, war, and modernization. It's been worn through the fall of empires, the rise of democracy, and the evolution of Denmark from an absolute monarchy to a constitutional one. To allow it to leave the country, even temporarily, would risk undermining its status as a fixed icon of the nation's heritage. And then there are the security concerns. Transporting priceless jewels is a risky business, especially when they're this historic. The risk of loss, damage, or even international dispute is simply too high. So it stays, always. Royal jewels with rules, how Denmark differs from other monarchies. Unlike the British crown jewels, which are displayed under heavy guard in the Tower of London but never worn outside coronation ceremonies, Denmark's jewels are living history, still worn by the royal family, still part of ceremonies and national life. But they come with strict boundaries. For example, there's also the ruby parure, tied to Queen Ingrid and now worn by Queen Mary as well, but even that is slightly more flexible in its travel permissions. The emeralds, however, untouchable, unmovable. Other monarchies allow their queens to travel with their jewels, even historic ones. But Denmark draws the line, reminding the world that some treasures are too sacred to Rome. Queen Mary's relationship with the emerald parure. Queen Mary has never spoken publicly in detail about the emerald parure, and yet, every time she wears it, she says something powerful without uttering a word. There's a certain reverence in how she carries herself when the emerald tiara graces her head. Her posture is regal, her expression focused, her movements deliberate. It's as if she understands, and honors, the invisible weight that comes with it. Because to wear this tiara is to shoulder the hopes of a nation, the expectations of history, and the legacy of queens before her. Queen Mary walking into New Year's court, tiara sparkling in the lights, close-up of emeralds. Those who have worked closely with the royal family say Queen Mary views the emerald parure not just as part of a costume, but as a ritual, a moment of deep symbolic responsibility. She prepares with care. She chooses the right dress. She studies historical photos to understand how past queens wore the jewels. She honors tradition, and in doing so, she connects herself to a lineage of powerful women, each of whom wore the same emeralds, stood in the same banquet halls, and looked into the same cameras, while facing very different political and social landscapes. Queen Mary, the modern queen, continues this tradition with a sense of grace that speaks volumes. And the Danish people have noticed. Unlike some other royal families, Denmark's monarchy maintains a relatively quiet, almost minimalist public image. It doesn't dominate headlines, it doesn't flash wealth, and it certainly doesn't thrive on scandal. Instead, it leans into heritage, and that's exactly what the emerald parure represents. To the Danish people, this tiara is more than beauty. It's pride, it's continuity, it's a tangible link to a shared past, and a reminder that the monarchy, while ceremonial, still carries symbolic weight in the country's identity. When Queen Mary appears in the emeralds, especially at the traditional New Year's court gala, it's seen not as indulgence but as ceremony. A ritual, a cultural moment. In fact, Polls have shown that many Danes view Queen Mary's handling of the parure as one of the most respectful and elegant gestures of her time as crown princess, and now queen. She doesn't overuse it, she doesn't flaunt it, she wears it rarely, and that rarity makes it sacred. Other royals, other rules, what makes Denmark's emeralds unique? Across Europe, royal tiaras sparkle at state dinners, royal weddings, and coronations. But very few pieces are as legally protected and immovable as Denmark's emerald parure. Princess Kate wearing the lover's knot tiara, Queen Maxima of the Netherlands in sapphires, Queen Letizia in diamonds. In Britain, the royal family has access to dozens of tiaras, many of which are loaned out or passed through generations. Even Princess Kate, now Princess of Wales, wears tiaras once worn by Diana, and even travels with them for overseas events. In the Netherlands, Queen Maxima has been seen in the famous Stuart tiara, a piece that once traveled through British hands before returning to Dutch control. Queen Letizia of Spain wears various tiaras for events across Europe and Latin America. But none of those countries place the same immobility restrictions on their royal jewels as Denmark does on its emeralds. Why? Because the Danish crown's jewels are part of a unique legal entity. They are governed not by inheritance, but by crown agreements written in the 19th century. And the emerald parure, in particular, is designated as hereditary royal adornment, meaning it belongs to the crown, not the person. It's not just precious, it's symbolic property of the Danish state. So, where exactly is the emerald parure kept when not worn? The answer: Rosenborg Castle, the royal jewel vault in Copenhagen, a fortress of history and security that houses Denmark's most sacred artifacts. Within its thick stone walls, temperature-controlled display rooms and underground safes protect the parure from time, theft, and disaster. Visitors can walk past the glass cases where the tiara rests in its full glory, mounted carefully under museum-grade lighting, glimmering for the public to see. But unlike other exhibits, this one doesn't just belong to the past. It's living history. The parure is displayed, but it is regularly removed for royal use. It's a surreal dance between museum curation and monarchy tradition. And the security is top tier. Encrypted access, armed guards, armored transport vehicles, and state-of-the-art tracking systems. Even moving the tiara from the vault to Amalienborg Palace for a state event requires multiple layers of protocol. In short, no one is sneaking this tiara out of the country. Not even the Queen. One of the most fascinating aspects of Queen Mary's reign is how she blends Denmark's deep-rooted tradition with a modern, international sensibility. She is often praised for her minimalist fashion, her advocacy work, and her grace under pressure, but when she wears the emerald parure, she reminds the world that she is also a steward of history. Queen Mary wearing a sleek modern gown with the emerald tiara, black velvet and green stones sparkling. Mary has never tried to redesign the tiara. She hasn't altered the settings, remade the brooch, or modernized the design, something that has happened in other royal families. She honors it in its original form, often pairing it with contemporary Danish designers, creating a visual harmony between tradition and innovation. And that's part of why the public respects her so deeply. She doesn't treat the tiara as a fashion accessory. She treats it as a national trust. She's not just a queen in name, she's a queen who understands the weight of the crown. What the future holds, who will wear it next? Within and Queen Mary now seated beside King Frederick as queen consort, the question inevitably arises: who will wear the emerald parure next? Their daughter, Princess Isabella, now 18, is a rising figure in the Danish royal family. She's been stepping into more public roles, attending state events, and developing a poised, confident image that has captured media attention across Europe. Isabella at birthday gala, close-up of her poised look, echoes of Queen Mary's early years. Will she one day wear the emerald parure? It's very likely, but only when she assumes the role of queen or becomes crown princess with ceremonial duties. And like her mother, she won't own the tiara. She'll only borrow it, serve it, and pass it along to the next generation. That's the beauty, and the burden, of Denmark's emeralds. They outlast the queens who wear them. They are timeless. Thanks for watching.